every single time I talk to somebody, it's so funny because they're like, "Oh, what's new?" And honestly, nothing. I just keep doing the same things over and over and over and over again, man. And that's the way I like it, to be honest.
Consistency is good, on a nice schedule, on a nice, easy to follow path. And, I don't remember the last time we connected. I think it was what?
6 or 7 months ago, I think.
Okay, 6 or 7 months.
I think. I could be 100% wrong on that. I think I was just talking to Devin about it last week.
I would say it's been at least within a year. I don't think it's been over a year.
Yeah, that's probably right. I was going to look it up, but honestly, well, I can look that up later.
Yeah.
What's going on, man? How are you today? What's going on with you right now?
Right now, I'm currently sitting in my gym, trying to stay away from being outside because I don't know what it's like on the West Coast for you in December, but it is cold as balls today, and I'm someone who hates the wintertime to begin with, so it's not a good combination of cold weather and just not liking December in general. I'm doing my best just to keep steady and keep training and just try my best to stay positive. But I'd be lying if I say that every day was a cakewalk, because it isn't. There are days where my patience is just non-existent and my capacity for things is non-existent, and I struggle in those kind of type of days. So yeah.
Oh, dude, I have no idea how you guys do it out there. Like, what's the temperature today at where you're at?
Well, right now, according to the info that I got, it's like minus 23.
Yeah, that's disgusting, dude.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
That's not even a typical, like, for most people who live here, that's probably an average winter day. It's not uncommon for us in our neighborhood here to have winter temperatures that dip below 30s, mid minus 30 kind of thing. So, yeah.
Oh, dude, it is, that's crazy, man. It's like that for literally everywhere in Canada except I've got like a 5-hour drive radius around me.
Yep.
Where if I drive like 5 hours, it's like that. But other than that, like I went for a run this morning. And this morning it says it's like 9 degrees.
Oh, wow.
Or 11 degrees.
That's running weather.
Oh, it's not bad. Yeah. And actually, honestly, I told my buddy again that I just started running. And he's like, really? It's cold out right now. Why wouldn't you start in a bit? Like, wait till spring. That's the kind of... I'm like, well, it's not that bad, but it is... most people, like, will complain about it. Like, oh, I have to wear a jacket. That's like
it's tough. Like I come from a running background primarily. Like if my fitness was, if I could describe my fitness in like 3 sports, it would be like running, soccer, and swimming. So running, I have a little bit of background on, and like +9, +10 would be perfect running weather, because you'd have to wear like minimal layers. But as you run, and depending on the distance and the pace, like you get warm and you get hot and you get like, you want to take layers off. So even though someone might say that's cold, I'd be like, just run for 5 minutes, you'll get warmed up.
Yeah. That's how I started getting back into running recently. I would just run around my neighborhood as a warm up for my weights. Mm-hmm. And literally I would just run until I started to sweat and then run home.
Yeah.
Like, it's all I need, man. I just need to start warming up the body. But yeah, dude, you like literally, like you said, that is kind of a nice running temperature, where I always start my run like hood on, maybe a toque, but usually just a hood on with headphones over top. And then by the end of it, you're just pulling the hood off. It's not really cold enough for gloves, but that's crazy, dude. Do you find, so I had this conversation with somebody at my gym in the summertime. Mm-hmm. They said they have less energy in the summer because it's hot out and you're working all day and you're kind of just like, your body's just like tired, and it's just... Yeah. But I am the opposite, dude. In the summertime, I'm ready to rock, and wintertime is like, dude, the last couple of weeks have been the first time in a long time where I'm like dragging ass. Like, I'm like, fuck, I don't really want to go to the gym today. And then I have to like really honestly like talk to myself as if it's like an Instagram reel. Like, come on, your bloodline depends on this. Like this, so that I
Yeah.
can convince myself. But dude, it is the winter time, the blues, man. They talk about seasonal depression or whatever, and I've always scoffed at that. But dude, it is the first time this year where I'm like feeling a little bit like sluggish and dragging ass, dude.
It's a real thing. I was the same way too. I always thought folks that were, you know, like you said, seasonally depressed or winter blues. I always thought that was just a mindset thing, and I just thought, just just don't think about it. You'll be fine. I
100%.
am struggling at times in December, and I think it's a combination of a bunch of things. It's the lack of sunlight, the lack of motivation, the cold, and I'm in the same boat too. Like, there are days where like the running joke in my house now is that I wake up in the dark to go to work, and I come home from work and it's dark. So
Oh
unless I
yeah,
make an
dude.
active choice to get outside during the workday and get some vitamin D on my face or just exposure to that sun, there are days where it's just like the desire is not there and the motivation is not there. And like you said, I drag my ass at the worst. I always, I think for the last 3 Decembers now, as soon as December creeps up, I'm like, all right, how do I positively try and switch my brain on to grind through December? Because for most folks, December is like positive and Christmas and snow and all that jazz. And I'm the opposite. I'm kind of like, yeah, just tell me when it's January, then tell me when it's February, and then as soon as the spring rolls around, then I start to come out of it. Come summertime, I'm like, let's get outside, let's go do stuff. I'm like reinvigorated. So, you know,
Yeah, Christmas sometimes for me is a mental battle because it's a dude, I'm a glutton for food, and I know everyone will admit, oh yeah, I kind of am like that. But like I got a problem, man, and it is a tough time for me. It is it's only been like the last few years where I don't gain like 5 or 10 pounds.
mm,
Because like I literally am a freaking vacuum, dude, with food. And baked goods in particular are my weakness, man. And so like I really got to struggle, but
you get on that seafood diet. Seafood, you got to eat it.
oh, dude, and the thing is too is like people like start baking around this time, and then you start to get like in the like dude, and the thing about addictions is, man, it is like you will find the best ways to sell yourself. Like you're the best salesman for yourself. That's the best, you know? And so like, dude, I'll be like, "Oh, but this person took the time to make this, dude. Like you can't say no. That's rude." And
Yeah.
then I'm like saying that every day, and it's like not great. So, yeah, it's tough, man. The thing about Vancouver though, it's not that cold because like I said, it's like 11 degrees here. I'm looking at the forecast right now and it looks like Saturday might be the first time it says snow actually.
Mm.
But it says like 3 or 4 degrees. So good luck. I don't know how that's gonna work.
Yeah,
Maybe
I would
it'll
imagine
snow
the
for
weather
an
up here
hour.
is damp at the best times, like
But that's the
damp.
thing. It's not like cold. It's not warm. It's not cold. It's just like an average temperature, like 9, 10 degrees basically.
Yeah,
And but it's just dark and rainy because this is like the rainforest area
yeah,
of the country. So it's kind of just like wet all the time. Like the forecast right now is just rain, 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 and then one day partly cloudy. Like it's just like that's how it is. And like I work in construction, so it's like kind of one of those things where like you park at the job site, and if you're blessed enough to work inside, you still have like the 20 minutes, half hour of like lugging tools to and from your truck into the job site, just dumping rain on you. All your tools are wet before you even start working. And like, dude, it is, and then just like you said, driving home, and it doesn't help that it's like dark at 4:30. So you're
yep,
like driving home at like 4:45 and it's just dark and rainy out and you're like, "Man, I don't want to leave my house again once I get home, dry off, shower. Then I'm
yeah,
going to go to the gym. It's already pitch black outside at 6 o'clock." Like
yep,
it is the hardest time of the year for me at least to just get back after it.
yeah. And just I find that now when it comes to, let's say, fitness or getting to the gym or getting motivated, I try and gauge my expectations quite considerably. Like yesterday was a workout where I had all the equipment set up and I had this really complicated, 45 minutes, just multi-layered stage workout. And as I'm literally dragging my shoes on my feet and kind of going, man, I don't even want to, looking at the board, what I've written down, And I'm going, I don't even want to do this. Like, how am I going to get through this? And I just said, you know what? Just get on a machine and just start moving and just see how you feel. Like maybe you're not going to get a 45-minute grinder on, but maybe you might get a 25-minute just moderate movement, right? And that's what I did. I just started moving on the machines, and as soon as I got 10 minutes in, I was like, all right, now I'm doing something. Now the blood's flowing. Now I'm getting some movement happening. And I just said, I'm just going to take that workout and just cut it in half, and that's my win today. Like, not worried about reps or times or score or pace, just consistently move in between these pieces and then get 25 minutes in and then just call it a day. And even then I was like, that was much better than just totally screwing the day up and saying I'm not doing anything. So I try and find those little victories where I can nowadays, because it's better than nothing, really.
Are all your workouts CrossFit style? Do you do anything other than CrossFit stuff?
The majority of it is, that's what it's based off of, but
Nice.
I've been trying to shift away from that consistent training over the last couple months. Like, I'll still, throw down a little WOD or an EMOM or an AMRAP, because that's what I'm used to. But now I'm trying to focus a lot more on getting some strict strength in there, like some strict lifts, presses, pulls, that kind of stuff. And do the classic 8 to 12 reps for 5 sets and rest in between, like the type of working out that I always used to hate because I always thought it was boring. I'm like, that's it, just 8 to 12 reps from this muscle group and that's it. But now I find that I'm sprinkling those in more and more because it's just easier to get done. It's easier to, hop into the gym and spend 20 minutes, get that done, as opposed to languishing in 45 minutes of cardio all the time. So,
Yeah, yeah. The only reason I ask is because I started just kind of thinking about my workouts differently in terms of like a weekly schedule. I broke it down because I do jujitsu.
hmm,
So I think like in my head, if I do four, three or four of each category basically a week. So like cardio, weights, and then like on the mats grappling.
yep.
And then so like if I could hit three or four of each, then like dude, that's already, I don't know, 12 workouts a week. Because then if I'm like, dude, if I miss like one or two, then I'm still hitting like, 9 workouts a week, which is
Yeah.
pretty sick.
Yeah, that's a lot of volume. So even if you're getting close to half that amount, that's still a win. Like, that's a pretty high bar you're setting. So
Yeah, yeah. I'm just shooting for it. And some weeks I can do it and it's killer.
yep.
But some weeks you don't, right? Like this week I was only on the mats twice because it was just one of those weeks. There's
Mhm.
Christmas parties and there's this and that and groceries and fucking responsibilities that you have to take care of.
Real
So
life stuff. Yeah.
yeah. But
I
I like to set that goal for myself. I just like set like the three categories, and then if I can hit three of each,
yeah.
four of each is like a perfect world.
Folks who train in jujitsu and like that type of fitness consistently, like I've tried to get into that world a few times. I've dropped into a couple of jujitsu gyms here in town, and I know some folks in the sport, and it's so much fun to learn that discipline and just get humbled by people who are so versed in that world. And I've always tried to get into that training a little more consistently, but every time I go in there and dabble a bit, or might drop in for a workout here or there. And I'm a pretty humble guy, and I'm okay with folks half my size and half my age or double my age just like turning me into a pretzel, because I want to learn and I understand like the discipline on that part. But the last few times I've gone, I've been like legit, and it's not on purpose, but I've come out of it being like, oh, I'm wrecked. Like,
Yeah,
I've been
yeah.
tapped up by people that, they're not trying to hurt me, but I understand, you know, they we're learning off each other. So as I'm sitting there trying to remember what I need to do to survive in this training session, they'll actively try and guide me along. But even then, in a guided sense, I still come out of it like just feeling beat up, and I know that it's because I don't do it consistently enough that my body's not used to it.
Hmm.
There was one session I came out where I swear my trachea was like shifted over maybe a quarter, because I was sitting there the next day going like, swallowing feels painful. That's not real.
Oh, dude, yeah. Anyone that's trained knows exactly the feeling you're talking about. I've been there,
I
dude.
remember coming home and going like, something shifted. Should I be worried about it? And the coach that was on the floor that day, he goes, "No, that's normal. It'll feel better in like 3 days." I'm like,
Couple
"I
days,
hope
yeah.
so." Yeah, and he was right. He was right.
Yeah. It's like anything though. There's just certain things that it is like movements and that you're just not really used to. There's a lot of bending, a lot of the things that your back or your hips have to slowly adjust to.
Hmm.
But it's like anything else, man. If I tried to do one of your wads, dude, my shoulder would come out so fast because you just kind of and I bet you'd probably say the same thing about CrossFit because I think both jiu-jitsu and CrossFit have a reputation for like kind of damaging joints kind of thing. And I've always said like it's undeniable for sure. Jiu-jitsu is like you're literally it is joint manipulation to the point where someone would to submit to another man. That is
Yeah.
definitionally what you're doing.
Yep.
So it's you learn how to abuse the joints, but you also learn how to protect them because of that, because you
Yep.
know what hurts and where you're in danger. So you learn like how to fall or how to just keep yourself safe when you're doing things at work. That's the way I think about it, at least. But there are gonna be movements where, like, yeah, your body's not gonna be fit for that, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have my shoulder redone in January,
Oh, wow.
but like, I've tried doing like just like simple overhead squats with kettlebells, and dude, it feels janky. Like my shoulder feels loose, and so like I just kind of make a mental note of like that's the position where my shoulder's really weak and really unstable, and so
Yep.
I just don't allow myself to go there. I proverbially tap out. You know what I mean? Like metaphorically tap out
Yep.
before getting there. And so,
Hmm.
like, whether it's like jujitsu or weightlifting or anything, like, you kind of just have to be aware of your body and your weaknesses. And
Yep.
like, dude, it's just where I'm compromised as of
Exactly.
right now, right? Like, as of right now. Maybe in January it'll be better.
Yeah.
Probably have to do some physio for a bit, but we'll see.
Yeah. And who's to say when the surgery is done, there'll be some recovery, some downtime, some physio. But depending on what that plan looks like and how that recovery goes, your shoulder might be like 150% in 4 months post surgery time, 5 months. Like it depends. Like some folks, depending on their fitness background, how their body recovers. And I know a little bit of this in the CrossFit world because we would have clients and members who would go off and have like their knees rebuilt or their shoulders rebuilt, and they would have physio that they would be given, and depending on what their plan of care was, like they would either be on a dedicated physio plan with a trainer, or they would come to the gym and say, "Here's my physio plan. Like, can you help me do it?" And we'd say, "Sure," and then we would look at what they have to do, and between us and their schedule and their discipline, I've seen folks who have bounced back and become way more able-bodied post surgery, and I've seen folks who have been a little, we'll say, less disciplined in their physio schedule,
Oh, yeah.
and they don't regain that pre-surgery form, if you would. So I think it depends on the individual, and I think it depends on the type of surgery, what they're going in for. But I think if you go in with the right mindset and the right plan, like you can be even better than before. So who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I'm pretty it's definitely like it's one of the first, well, no, I've had some surgeries to repair injuries before, but it is like definitely the first as an adult of like, oh
Mm-hmm.
shit, I have to get my shoulder redone and that
Yeah.
sucks. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to yeah, we'll see. There's just a lot of times where and there's nothing I feel like I could do right now to strengthen. I do a lot of, like I said, my resistance training is all based around like stability, shoulder stability, band work, kettlebell work, like. But there just seems to be like a part of my shoulder where, like, in a certain position, it just slides right out. Like,
Mm.
I don't know how else to explain it,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like there's nothing else I can really do. Like
Yeah.
and it is what it is. So we'll
Yeah.
see how it goes, man.
It's the beauty of call it getting older, calling breaking down, calling wear and
I'm gonna
tear.
deny that, dude. I'm still denying that.
Okay. You
I
and me both.
just turned 30, man. All right, so
Ah,
don't
30. You,
don't
you're
put that on me yet.
you've got plenty of time ahead of you. It's when you start creeping up on the 40s. That's when things start to really hit you in the face and go, no, you're 40 now, or you're 43 or whatever it is. But yeah.
Dude, that's the other thing that jujitsu really taught me, honestly. Not to go off on a tangent, but I'm sure again, this is probably something that you can test to with CrossFit as well. Is all the guys I train with are in their 40s, and so you kind of see Oh, the idea is like this is like a quote unquote marathon, not a sprint. Like the game is actually just see how long you can do this thing that's fun as fuck.
Yep.
Because like there's gonna like you start a group of guys, say you start with 20 guys in a gym, whether it's like CrossFit or jiu-jitsu or like rugby or hockey or whatever. You
Mhm.
start when you're 20 and you maybe get a group of 20 guys and you'll slowly notice, dude, how many people just like drop off year after year after year
Yeah.
until like in a group of 20, probably like one or two guys at the end of like a decade or 2 decades,
Yeah.
they're the ones still doing it. Everyone else and it's not just about like getting a wife and kids because these other guys do and they keep doing it, but it just seems like over time, like the herd gets culled almost
Mhm.
in a way, like you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, it's a matter of taking what's a priority in your life at that time and just keeping it in that top three, top four kind of things, and that happens a lot. As people start to age and life changes and things happen, and kids, wife, job, schedule, stress, all that stuff. You have to work almost a little harder to keep those things that are really important to you a priority, right? So
Oh
whether it's
yeah.
fitness, whether it's entertainment, whether it's like social time, like you know coming from the fitness world in CrossFit, we would have people come in all the time, and the classic excuse or the classic argument I always get was like, "Man, I just have no time. I have no time to do this. I'm too busy."
Hmm.
And I'd always throw it back at them, not in a rude way, but I would just say, "No, you have time. You just haven't made it a priority, and that's okay. Like, if you want to make this a priority, you'll find the time." And I'm not saying that as a knock. Like, I'm the same way too. Like, if I wanted to, work out 5 days a week, I could find the time if I really wanted to. I just have to make sure that I'm okay with taking things that are taking up that time and pushing them to the backside. And that's where people kind of go, "Oh, well, okay, like that makes sense, right?" And I just go, not saying it to be rude. I'm just saying that's the reality. Like, if you wanted to make this a priority, you would, and that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a priority now, but maybe it will be later, right?
Oh, dude, and it's 100% cool. Like the thing is, dude, I am so like to tell you a little bit more about myself. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I'm kind of like a nerd. Like I like to think of myself kind of as like right in the middle of like being like kind of a jock and a nerd. Because there's definitely like if you were to look at my life on a surface level, you'd be like, oh, he's kind of like a jock, whatever. Like he likes to work out, he likes to do these things. I don't really drink, whatever. And then it's like there's also this nerdy side of me where like I love watching anime. I like reading comic books. I like playing video games. And I always find myself, dude, I wish I had more time to play this game. Oh, this new game came out and I want to play it. Like that's literally where I'm at right now. There's a game that just came out this week and I want to freaking play it, dude. And I keep reminding myself, it's like, dude, you have to take care of these other things first. Because that's just what I've chosen to prioritize. Like, it's like, yeah, I want to read comic books, but I also have these other books that I've started and bought and I've read and finish those books up first. Because,
Yeah.
like, I use that as a part of my routine. And it really comes down to, like, why you do what you do, I guess, what is what I'm trying to say. Because like I still to this day read self-help books and like those types of things. I like it just because I like to start my day off with something that's kind of chilled out, but also something that's just going to put me in the mindset to do. I used to start like first thing in the morning was my workout. Like that's the first thing I do, but I just found like it was tough to get into that intensity mindset.
Hmm.
Whereas like if I sit and read a self-help book, it actually like makes me think, oh, I wish I was running right now, or I wish I was doing this, or I would. So then I'm like, okay, I'll finish reading and then I'll do that. I'm like priming my brain, and so it comes down to like why you're doing what you do. If you're using, oh, I'm going to spend my reading time to prime myself for this workout, or I'm going to do this reading before I do my journaling or before I talk to my wife in the morning or whatever it is, just to like put yourself into that mindset. Well, then you're kind of choosing, oh, I'm not going to read comic books right now. And that's cool, dude. Like it's fine. But then you might be like, "Oh, I need to find time to do this thing," and then you're going to have to prioritize it over something else. And I guess that's really honestly what life is about. It's just consistently doing that. Like
Yep.
picking your priorities.
Picking where you're going to spend your time, and picking where your energy and like where your time and energy is most valued, right?
Mm.
I totally get you on the video game stuff. Same thing. I have a disgusting backlog of games that I've purchased that are still in the plastic wrap that are sitting on a bookshelf, and I look at it now and I go, when am I ever going to have time to open up this game? And like it's ridiculous. I buy games like I still have time to play them when I
Yeah,
clearly
yeah.
don't.
I
Yeah,
feel you, dude. I'm like that too.
yeah.
What kind of would you play on a console? Or do you? I'm assuming because you were just describing games.
Console. Yeah, yeah.
What
I have a lot of friends who are like PC gaming is better and console gaming is better, and I'm just like, man, games in general. Let's just play together. Like,
I
how about
dabble
console?
in both, dude. I grew up playing World of Warcraft, and I still log on a time or two every
Nice.
now and then.
Yeah.
But I've been big on the Switch in the last couple years. I've been
Oh yeah.
replaying a lot of like RPGs that they've remastered or redone, and dude, RPGs have always been my favorite. I've always been obsessed with that idea where you can just like oh, I have to go like train this part of my character. I want to make like my magic better. And
Yeah.
so like you have to go. I've always loved that symbology for real life. That's always literally how I've thought about it, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna do like a 45-minute run. So like +5 confidence, +5 energy, plus that's literally how I think about these things. Like that's how I convince myself to do these things.
I
Every
would,
like
yeah, I was going to say, I feel you on that. I would take it even to a step further. And I remember going on some of my runs, training for marathons. I would have like video game soundtracks playing on my playlist
oh
as a
yeah.
way to like, find that motivation or that inspiration just to keep the feet moving. So
Oh, dude, I have soundtracks from animes and video games in my
nice.
Spotify playlists. That is my fiance laughs at me because I'll get in this in like the car sometimes and it'll just be like a playlist and she's like, I swear I heard you playing this game earlier today. But yeah, it's the soundtrack from Persona 5. Like,
Nice. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
dude.
awesome.
It is, dude. I've always found like people it's so funny because again, my algorithm's all over the place. I have the nerdiest algorithm and then the most giga chat algorithm sometimes. Like it's so funny. And the two realms colliding is the funniest thing because like the nerds will make fun of the chads and the chads will make fun of the nerds. And I'm in the middle just catching strays everywhere, dude. And I've always found honestly that these like video games are the perfect like kind of like reminder of how life works. You're like, dude, real life actually is just an RPG at this point.
It really is. Like you want to get to that next level and you want to last as long as you can and you want to build your stats and kind of just, you know, be as relevant and as consistent as you can the longer you stick around.
That is the funniest thing ever, man. So what do you got going on right now in the holiday season? You got a lot of family stuff going on, or what's you got
Family
rest
stuff.
and recovery, or you just go go go?
No, we're doing something different for our Christmas this year. We're actually driving out to Calgary. We're gonna go see my brother, his fiance, my wife's aunt, her husband, their kids. Like we've got family that live out in Calgary, and a lot of times around Christmas time, my brother would come down from Calgary, would spend time in here. So we just thought last year that we wanted to do something different. We wanted to not necessarily make a new tradition, but just try something different where we take our Christmas and take it on the road. And we got lots of great people and friends and family out west. So we just threw out the idea last year, like, hey, why don't we go to Calgary? Why don't we just drive out there and spend maybe 3 or 4 days, have Christmas in Calgary and just see what that's like and just change it up for once. So that'll be something that'll be exciting. We haven't done a road trip out there in the wintertime nonetheless, ever. So that'll be a new experience and, just to kind of get out of Dodge for a bit, get out of our space for the holidays and just change things up. So
That's sweet. Yeah, we're actually doing it a little bit different as well this year, and like my whole family, everyone seems to just be like available on Boxing Day, and her whole family, it turns out that they are all available for Christmas Eve, and so
mm,
Christmas Day actually just falls in the middle, and I'll probably stop by. I live pretty close to my parents, so I'll probably stop by and say what's up to them.
yeah,
But we're thinking about spending Christmas just like let's just stay home, just like the two of us, and just relax for the day. Like we've had, like I said, those last few weekends have either just been like just busy, you know,
yeah,
and,
yeah,
and it's gonna be nice to have like literally. it's one of those years where like having a day where you have no commitments and nothing going on, like it's gonna be nice.
The holiday hustle and bustle. I was in our Walmart one day on a, I don't know, a Saturday or a Sunday, and I was just like already agitated, already kind of like on edge, already not wanting to socialize or see people. And I swear it was just a perfect storm of people and personalities and traffic and just folks that were just bugging the hell out of me. And I came back from Walmart and I was saying to my wife Danny, I was like, man, I don't know what was going on in Walmart today, but I think everybody in town was there. And everybody was like standing in the middle of the aisles, chatting with their friends. How's it going? How are you? And I'm like, can you get out of the way so I can go find my kidney beans? Like, I
Oh
just wanted
yeah.
to get in there, grab my stuff, and then go. And I said to her, I'm like, and there was this one gentleman who I'm sure was probably too old to be in there by himself, who was just the nicest, politest guy. I said, but he was moving so slow, and somehow every aisle that I zipped around, he was there. And I'm like, is he following me? Is there like a camera crew? Am I getting punked? I'm like, how is this guy in front of me? So she just started laughing and laughing, and I said, I almost like got into an argument with this couple that were like in my way, and I said, could you just take your conversation and get out of my way? Like, I got things to do. I want to be in here for 10 minutes and out and gone. And yeah, so that's that can be a typical day for me in wintertime around this time of year when
Oh
it's cold.
yeah.
Oh, okay. How can I get out there, do what I need to do, and not talk to anybody, and then get home? So
Oh yeah, dude. I'm the same. I love socializing, obviously by nature. That's how I could have a podcast and just talk for hours with people.
mhm.
But I'm a homebody, dude. I'd
Yeah,
rather like sit with you in well, proverbially or metaphor, whatever we're doing right
yeah,
now. But
virtually, and
but
yeah,
yeah, I'd rather sit with you or just have people over. Like I'm more down for people to just come over rather than like to go and meet somebody somewhere.
yeah.
Dude, I'd rather sit with somebody in my living room for 4 hours than like go and meet somebody for coffee for 45 minutes.
Hmm.
Like I'm
Hmm.
always, every time I leave the house when it's like winter time, it's like a race to get back home as fast as possible. Like, let's get out there and get this done because I
Yeah,
am just wanting to be at home right now.
yeah. You got anything in the works for the new year, or any big 2026 goals or plans or visions, or like things you're looking forward to?
Actually, you know what? I was just writing that down this week. Well, I'm getting my shoulder redone, and
Yep.
so I basically just gonna have to rebuild that. So that's the beginning of the year. Is just gonna be doing a ton of physio, and essentially, I'm just trying to get to like, as terms of like a actual metric. My goal is to get to a dead hang, because my surgeon said basically if I can bang out push-ups and do a dead hang, then he would consider that like close to full recovery. So
Yeah.
that is like the goal of my shoulder. So that's pretty much it. And then I actually gonna end up. I'll probably end up going back to trade school for a little bit. I never actually finished my Red Seal as a carpenter,
Hmm.
and it'd be really nice to do that so I could apprentice people as kind of an employment benefit.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that's just like a sidebar, that random thing that I'm just kind of thinking about doing, and it's something I gotta jump on soon. So, little reminder for myself. But yeah, I
Yeah.
got to get back and do some schooling so I can start to apprentice people, and then it's always been I've always loved to be in positions where like I get to help people and teach people things,
Hmm.
and it's something I spend a lot of time doing and trying to improve on myself. So obviously, like it's something I look forward to is like having apprentices. It's
Yeah.
kind of like a dope thing, I think, to just
Yeah.
even the word is kind of cool. It's like, these are my apprentices, but yeah, dude. So I got to go back to school. Last time I checked, though, which was a week ago, there was like 11 spots left for the year. Like BCIT is where I would go,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's there's not a lot of spots left, so I got to jump on that.
Yeah. Well, and that could lead to other opportunities, like you said, employment-wise. I know a handful of guys here who, have, with Kenora being a smaller town, you see the same people a lot. You grow up with the same people, and for folks who choose to stay here or build a life here, you see where they progress. And a lot of guys that I went to school with who started off in the trades, right, whether it's carpentry, plumbing, construction, mechanical, anything that requires that discipline. A lot of them now either have their own or are moving in towards starting their own like companies, right? Like they're, whether they do big projects or small projects, like it seems like every day now someone else new is starting their own contractor company, or they've got like 3 or 4 employees. And I'm just like, that would have been a cool path had I chose to go through like a skill or a trade or that kind of stuff, right? So
Yeah,
it's
that's exactly it, man. That's my old man, he's always done it. He's a carpenter as well. So
yeah,
I kind of just grew up doing it. And it was always like a summer gig for me, and then I'd get other jobs here and there, but it ended up being the career I chose.
yeah,
And that's the thing is like I did the first couple levels, the first couple years of like schooling, and then it's just like, well, we kind of just run a business now. So like I'd rather just keep working, and so I've worked for the industry for maybe I guess cumulatively almost a decade,
yep,
but it's one of those things where it's like now I just have to go and get the actual like schooling finished,
yep,
and then not that I've always just put it off because it's like it's not compulsory. It's not like plumbing or electrical. It's not
mm-hmm.
like you have to have a ticket to work
Yep,
because we just contract plumbers and electricians that can pull those permits, right?
yep, yeah,
And so it's never been like a thing, but I've just thought in my head, it would be cool to be able to like like I said, have that as like an employment benefit of like, hey, I could start to apprentice people and get them
yep,
through school, and
yep,
it is just kind of like a path of life that I want to do where it's just like, yeah, I love coaching, I love helping people. I've loved management positions in the past. I love hiring people and training them, so it'd be cool. It's a cool next step. So,
yep.
yeah, man, got to go back to school. I'm gonna have to sit in a classroom, man, and take some notes and do tests. It's a funny thing to think about, man. I haven't done it in a
It'll
decade.
be, uh, it'll be a pretty incredible side quest if you decide to pursue it next year.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's 100% what it is. It is a side quest, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is, man.
It may not be part of the main quest, but hey, some of those side quests can be pretty gnarly. So
It is, man. It is pretty fun, man. I enjoy those types of environments, but I just haven't been in them. And like I remember when I went to and trade school is very different than like college or other schools, obviously by nature. But
mhm.
it was a fun experience, and the courses are like 6 weeks, so they're pretty condensed. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it for me. It's kind of one of those years where like I'm just like I got to focus on improving a couple things, and like you said, it seems like side quests, but it's kind of just like things I've been putting off that would really benefit my life, and so
Yeah.
it's where I'm at now. Like it's going to
Yeah.
be a year of recovery. That's the way I'm looking at it. It is recovery. I'm going to
Yeah, and you
recover
want
on
to
the.
you want to give your shoulder the right amount of time, because guess what? That's the shoulder you're going to have hopefully for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years, and you want to keep that in good shape, right? So
Yeah, yeah. How about yourself, man? You got any big goals for the year coming up
mm,
here, or because this
yeah, my
episode actually is going to drop on
in the new year.
27th. No, it's the
Okay.
last episode of the year. Oh no, wait,
Oh,
Monday.
okay.
Monday. It'll be the 22nd, right before Christmas.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Well, I mean, I've
No,
always got.
29th, dude. It is right before the end of the year. 29th.
Oh man. Okay. Final episode of the year. Woohoo.
Yes, it is the last episode of the year.
Um, yeah, I've always got ideas in my head, whether they're fitness related, whether they're personal development related. I've got actually a pretty cool, unique opportunity in the, call it, speaking realm, or public speaking world. I'm actually going to uh, be speaking about my own recovery story to some federal correctional officers in Manitoba, which was a pretty unique opportunity that came up. So that's a cool way to start the year. And I'm actually co-presenting with my wife, who's on her own out loud recovery journey with her speaking opportunities. So we're gonna kind of co-present for the first time, which is a really unique opportunity, and just kind of share our
Wow.
story. And so that's happening early in the new year, like in January. Um, and then, like, fitness wise, I was actually looking to do a high rocks race. I thought that'd be a cool challenge to take down, and I was looking at one in Ottawa that is in May of 2026. But I've run into a scheduling conflict, and now I can't go anymore. So I'm kind of a little bummed about that. But there'll be another opportunity, because they don't have too many in Canada. I actually think there's one happening in Vancouver, like in the next week or two.
Huh.
which just didn't jive with my schedule, but just something else where I'm like, hey, that looks like fun. I wonder if I can do that, or what that experience would be like. Um, I'm trying to help the RTF brand grow and see what I can do with my opportunity there, and taking on some clients, or helping grow that brand and connecting with Devin and seeing what we can do with that with the calendar year. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't typically look at a new year as kind of like an opportunity. What am I going to do now? It just kind of keeps rolling over to the next month. Like I New Year's and people talking about like any New Year's resolutions, and I kind of go like, I used to be that person. Now I'm kind of like, no, just business as usual. Maybe change things, a few things up. But I find that my goals and my ambitions like are always kind of changing. There might be one or two big ones that linger there for a while, and if they linger there long enough, then I go, okay, I clearly want to pursue it and I'll go after it. But nothing earth shattering, nothing groundbreaking. Like my kids are getting older and I'm getting older, and just kind of like getting into that stage of life where I'm like we mentioned earlier, like where is my time and energy best used right now?
Hmm.
And I've got some things on the go where I've realized like the hard way that I don't think my time and energy is best spent here. I think I'm going to part ways with that and kind of focus on other things and prioritize things a little better. So yeah, that's kind of how the end of my year is looking like. So
Yeah, I've always I kind of take a similar stance. I'm not a big like New Year's resolution guy, but I do like to I'm always like a break it down kind of guy. That's the way I think. And so when I think about like my year and my goals for the year or whatever, I'm always thinking like in terms of like almost like a sales quota for quarters. Like I'm like,
mm,
okay, quarter one is going to be like shoulder. We're going to do some rehab. So I'm going to
yeah,
take the time to do like a lot more stretching and walking and just like, yeah, basically just trying to fix any other injuries that I have as well. Cause that's just going to be like the time where I can't do a lot of like, jujitsu. I can't do a ton of weightlifting with the upper body. So I'm going to be, biking. I'm going to be doing yoga as much as like that kind of stuff as I can. And then I like break it down. Yeah, okay, like if I can't get in until like December for school, then that'll be Q4, you know? And then I just like kind of break it down into chunks from there because I hate finishing a week being like, oh, I didn't do anything that I wanted to do this week. So then I feel like that over a month as well. I feel like that over a. So in a way, I guess I do use resolutions and goals that way, but I always just break it up that way. And then, oh, dude, just to save myself from being hung later today, I'm also getting married next year, dude, which is crazy. So
that's a pretty big event. Congratulations, man.
yeah, yeah. So it's gonna be a busy year, actually. That's gonna be halfway through the year. So we'll call that like end of Q2, beginning
Yeah,
of Q. Yeah, yeah, we're looking at like June, July. So, well, it'll be June.
yeah, that's awesome, man. Congrats. That's a big milestone. That's a big event.
Yeah, we're pretty stoked about it. I don't know how you guys did your wedding, but we're kind of just doing the closest thing you can elope to, like be to doing an elopement without
Yeah,
your parents hating you. So like our parents are gonna come, our siblings are gonna come.
yeah.
And then the reason I said June, July is because we'll probably do something with friends in July, but
Mhm.
it'll be more of like just a potluck type thing, like just low key and just come chill for a barbecue or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, we're keeping it pretty low key,
I
like 20
remember when
people.
Yeah, I remember when our wedding was getting planned, and it makes me feel old talking about like way back in 2009 because that's when we got married. So it seems like an eternity ago. But I remember thinking going into that day like, I was my 2 cents on the topic is like it's a very important day. Obviously, it's you want to commemorate it, you want to spend some money, have a good time, and all that jazz. But and I had to tread carefully when I brought this up to my wife, my bride at the time, my bride now, my fiance then, because all the planning and all the visions and all the stuff that we were thinking about, she was thinking about. I was more or less like, sure, sounds great. I was pretty easygoing, but as the planning became a little bit more complex, and as the conversation started going back and forth, and as like the numbers started adding up, I remember looking at certain ideas and just choosing my input carefully at times, and a lot of times I would dance around the topic of like it's just one day, like
Mm.
an important day. I'm not saying that, but I said I don't want to be paying for this wedding for like the next 10 years. Like, let's just be mindful of that. And, in my infinite wisdom of being married for so long now, for folks that are going through the process, friends, family, and I remember talking to my brother about this a lot because for a while he was planning a wedding, and I remember just saying like, you can spend as much money as you want, you can spend as little money as you want, but it's what you guys want, right? So try to take what other people want, parents, siblings, cousins, family, like you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. You want them to be a part of it, but it's your day, like it's your day, right? So no one can tell you what's right, no one can tell you what's wrong because it's your day at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I was very much like, don't pay for it for 10 years. Like, how much is that food bill? How much is that booze bill? Ooh, is it really? Do we really got to spend that? So
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that's, and the other thing is, I keep reminding myself is like, dude, it doesn't matter how epic the day is. Of course, you want the day to be awesome, for sure. But then, like, that's the beginning. That's day one.
mm-hmm,
You're
mm-hmm,
like, it's like the rest of your lives together. Like, you got to be a good husband for the rest of it. Like, do you think it really matters how epic your wedding is, or do you think it matters more about like how good of a husband you can actually be? Like,
yeah, yeah,
that's the kind of the way I've been thinking about it. But again, I agree with you, man. Especially in today's economy, we did the whole thing where we're like, oh, dude, we only do this once. We have to have everyone. Like we're doing cousins, we're doing friends, we're doing plus ones, and then you get like 70, 80, 90 people. And then you're like, okay, it's going to be like $20 a head. Okay, no, $40 $60 a head, $70 a head. And you're like, $70 a head with 70 people. You just
that,
start doing the math. You start doing the math, and you're like, maybe we should dial this back a bit. Honestly, I think my people that love me would rather me save this money for like future things rather
yeah,
than spend it on them for
yeah.
my wedding. It kind of didn't make sense logically, but I also have a weird brain that way, and yeah, it's very utilitarian that way. So maybe says more about me than other people because everyone else likes to do the big wedding, but
Yeah. We had a couple things that we weren't willing to not spend the money on, and where there was things that we were okay to kind of like barter and look around. And one thing that we wanted that we weren't willing to part or compromise on was like the food, because um, everyone's got their own wedding experiences and everyone's got positives and things that they would change or things that they would wonder why they did it that way. And because our guest list at the time was getting like upwards of like 120, 150 people, we didn't want everybody in a buffet style of food, like eating at different times. The more people you have, and some people might be finished before the other people even look at a plate. So the one thing that we wanted to make sure was that we wanted our service to be plated, whatever that looked like. People were all going to eat at the same time and just have a good meal. So that was the one thing that her and I both agreed, coming from bigger families, like we want to have plated service. We can talk about the rest and all the other ideas and details, but that was one thing we're like, we don't care how much it costs, like, but that's what we want everyone to experience together, like a nice plated meal and that. So
yeah, yeah, you might. Where's your last name from? Is that Greek?
it's Greek, yeah.
Yeah, you must have a big family, dude.
Hmm.
No
Yeah,
doubt.
and Italian, like we had a big Greek, mostly Greek wedding, but like with a lot of Italian influence, and yeah, we're big about
Well,
getting
isn't that the reality that the Greeks don't like to admit? Hey,
I always used to joke back in the day that I said I couldn't find a good Greek woman to marry, so I found the next best thing. I went and found an Italian
a
girl.
Roman. You found a Roman.
Yeah.
That's hilarious, man.
Yeah.
That's
Wow, that's
so
exciting.
fun.
Yeah, big wedding in 2026.
Yeah,
Congrats.
it's epic, dude. I was just talking I was we were at a Christmas party last night and I was talking to like I said, I'm 30 and then the other guy that I think I was talking to is probably in his late 20s and then there was a guy in his early 20s and they were like, "What was it like actually proposing?" And I was like, "Honestly, bro, it was the most nerve-wracking thing I think I've ever done, dude. Like it's one of those things where like and I'm a confident speaker. I'm pretty outgoing
Mhm.
and especially with her. Like she hears me in my most raw, unfiltered.
Yep.
And watching the video, because there's a video of me doing it. Like I didn't even ask her. I just literally grabbed her hand. I didn't even like to this day. She didn't say yes. I just grabbed her hand and put the ring on. I was like, I couldn't speak, dude. I was so nervous.
Oh, that's awesome.
So funny, man. But I was
Yeah.
talking to two guys about it last night, and I was like, it is funny how like it's something you can't explain. It is just like something that you just have to go through to understand. And I'm
Hmm.
sure getting married is the exact same thing.
proposing, getting married, whether or not you're going to have kids, your first kid being born. Like there's always these. I always see these different sort of, whether it's on my algorithm or my feed of like all these milestones in a man's life, right? Like when he, you know, drives for the first time, gets his first job, marries, has his first kid, and it's one of those things where like getting married and proposing is always in that list, no matter what it is. It's like, yeah, that's a big milestone, and you may not see it as that in the time, or people may not realize it at that stage in their life, but it's a pretty big deal, right? It's one of those things where it's like not everyone gets to experience it, not everyone chooses to go down that path, but if you're in a situation where that happens to you, it's a pretty big deal, you know.
Yeah. Well, and I just think it is. I honestly do think it is like an essential step in becoming an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Like just like completely, there's like the biblical aspect of it, but the metaphor of like, yeah, I'm severing myself a little bit from being like the son of my parents to like the head of a house.
Yeah.
And that is like, honestly, I think that there's like it's no coincidence that there's like a huge decline in like marriage and actual marriages staying together, and then this this feeling where basically like there we have a bunch of children walking around in society that
Mm-hmm.
are of age. They're just like 30-year-old children.
Yep.
And it's because like I think that there is a huge connection between the two. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, you've never severed yourself. You're still looking for mommy and daddy to take care of you. You
Yep.
haven't accepted the responsibility. And so like for me, honestly, like it is it's it's uh it's something I'm excited for. Like it is funny how like there's the trope of men that like, oh, it's gonna be prison, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be that. And you're like, no, dude, I'm like excited for it. Like it's like the essential next step. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing. What do you mean? What else is there? That's
It's
kind
like
of the
your,
way
it's like your first level prestige where you hit that and you're like, hey, I've like ascended to a different level of like, life where I'm kind of like I'm above all that stuff now. You want to keep leveling up. And it's funny that you mentioned about we're in an age now where like marriages don't work or that kind of stuff. And for a while, it was a touchy topic that I would always bring up with my wife carefully. I'd always say like, you know, man, when we were planning our wedding and talking about all the things that we should have in line before that, and with the topic of like a prenup came up, and not that we had anything or I had anything that I would sign into a prenup, but I always joke with her. I was like, man, at the time, like in 2009, I'm like, you can't buy a house without home insurance, you can't drive a car without insurance, that kind of thing. I said you should almost be it should almost be some type of law where folks who are getting married, they have to sign something so that when things go south, they don't just like go off their own ways and someone gets screwed over. And she was like, you're just setting us up for disaster, aren't you? And I was like, well, no, look at it. And at the time I was like, look at the numbers. I'm like, people, when they get married for whatever reason,
hmm
they don't stick together, right? Call it divorce rates, call it whatever. And it's always been a testament to just, how long our marriages last. And I'll tell you from experience, marriage is hard work. Like it's tough and it's a grind and you got to put the work in. And I could probably count at least on both my hands at the minimum the amount of couples that we've known in our time together, whether they were married, engaged, common law partners, whatever. Like a lot of times, for whatever reasons, good or bad, it's not my place to say. I just say what I see. People don't stick together, right?
yeah.
For whatever reason, they choose to part, and that could be good or bad. But it takes work to make things work. And for our own wedding, our own marriage experience, like hard work is what keeps us together. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows all the time. It's hard and gross and ugly and frustrating. But you got to look at your partner and kind of say like they're worth it, right? You're worth the work. I'm worth the work, and that's what you got to do. So my running line with Danny, I'm always saying is like we're a dying breed. People that stay married for 10 plus years, 15 plus years, like it doesn't happen as often anymore. So
Yeah, no doubt, dude. And that is honestly like one of the conversations we've had because obviously, like, dude, arguments don't go away. Like those
mm-mm.
types of things. And there was always like a joke with our relationship, like, like a ring's not gonna fix it. Like it's like that's what We would argue before, like she'd be like, "When are you going to propose?" And I would always say that, like, we're always going to have those types of issues. Like, there's always going to be, and like, I kind of have my own little like abandonment issues. Like, I don't like this idea of like, oh, she could just leave me and then I'll be alone. And I don't mind saying that. I don't care. Like, it sounds like beta as fuck, but it is what it is. That is literally what goes through my brain. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I have that kind of, there was something like comforting of like, oh, I've given her the ring now, and now like there's less of a chance of it almost.
Mm-hmm.
But like there is the conversation that like we literally had to, like it was like, this is it. Like I'm not doing this whole like divorce thing, and I'm not trying to stigmatize, but like I'm not trying to shame anybody, but like it's just really not like a path. Think you like circling back to like what you choose in life and like what you're prioritizing, it's like I don't want to do that personally. I don't want to go through this like vow of like I'm going to spend my whole life with you and then not keep that promise and then hopefully keep it the next time with someone else. Like I just didn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't, it's not the path I want to do. So
Yeah.
like if I like we had to sit down and have the conversation of like, are you like, are we both aligned on this? Like this is it, right? Like there's no one like it's not, there's no option.
Yeah.
Like if we're gonna do this, we're doing it.
Yep. I've said to Danny many times, and I can confidently say it now. Like I've married the person I want to be with, and if something were to happen out of our control, where let's say she dies or I die or whatever, I've always said like I'm not getting married again. Like I've done it once, I'm not doing. It's not to say that I wouldn't be happy like being with someone else again, but if I found myself in that position where like Danny's out of the picture and then someone else comes along and they're like, I want to be with you, and I'd be like, we can be together. I'm just not getting married again. Like I'm not. I've done that once, and that was one person I was going to do it with, and I was meant to do it with, and that's it. Like so, I'm very much along the same page as you. I joke with her now, like we can't even afford a divorce, so we that's not an option, right? Like we'll work out our stuff together, and we'll figure stuff out.
It's
But
cheaper. Yeah, it's cheaper to
it's
figure
cheaper
it
to stay
out.
together, right? Like I can put a price on my happiness. I can't afford that, so
Yeah. Yeah. There's a reason I don't drive a Corvette right now. Right.
Yeah. So who knows? I mean, marriage is one of those things where I'm not an expert on the topic. I only know what I've experienced, what I've lived, and what I've seen. And every once in a while, people always ask us the classic, like, "Oh, how do you guys make it work?" And what's the secret? I'm like, the secret is like ugly, uncomfortable, gross conversations, and just not willing to compromise on certain things, and just being vulnerable, and just having all those like big boy adult conversations with the person you should be having them with, right?
Yeah.
And when things get rough, put the work in and see what you can do. Don't just say this sucks and I'm going to take off and find someone else, because that's not me to say, but it just seems like it's almost an easier path, right? And sometimes folks will tend to choose the path of least resistance in a whole bunch of directions, and I just see that in my the life that I've lived and the marriages that I've seen. I've kind of go, I wonder why so many people just choose to go their own way, right? But
Yeah, and I mean there's definitely people that are happy that are single. But
yeah.
when you meet a couple that's like been together for like 4 decades, you're like, yo, there's
Mm-hmm.
something special there. Like, dude,
Something
that
there.
is like a human that, yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but it is funny. The like 3 or 4 conversations I've had with people that have been married for like at least a decade in the last like 2, 3 days. And when you go to Christmas parties, that is definitely like a topic of discussion right now for me. Cause, anyways, so there's been a lot of guys that say literally the same thing as you is like, dude, it is going to be the hardest thing you do, but it is so worth it.
Yep. Yep. It is. And whether or not kids are in your future, that was always the thing that for me
Lord
when I was
willing,
like,
man, I hope.
yeah, we were very much aligned on like having a family and the idea of being parents and raising a kid. And I remember when our first daughter was born, just realizing in that moment, as cliche as it sounds, like it's such a game changer when you're holding this little helpless, defenseless little life in your hands, and you're like, wow, it's not about me anymore. This is about this little person, right? So I remember that
Mhm.
being like just the biggest game changer and eye opener, and just realizing like, wow, everything that I thought matters doesn't matter anymore, or just as it's not as important. Uh, it doesn't hold so much importance in my life. It holds like it's such a smaller piece now, because now it's all about her or all about him, right? So yeah, who knows?
Yeah, it is pretty crazy, man.
Hmm.
It's something I'm excited for. It's something that yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's
Yeah.
something that you can't like I wish I part of me wishes I had it earlier in my life, but I know that I was such a knucklehead, dude. I'm still barely figuring it out. So I
Yeah.
probably would have messed it up earlier on, but that's the way I don't know. That's the way I think about it.
Yeah. It's going to happen when if it's meant to happen, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen.
Yeah,
That's it.
no doubt, man.
That's what I could say. You know.
That's super sick. Do you guys that's cool as well that you're getting to work together a lot more as well.
Yeah, like it's pretty neat. Like it's just a unique opportunity where like I was pretty vocal and open about my recovery journey early on, and now Danny's kind of stepping into her own path and really finding an audience and finding a platform just to tell her story. And this speaking opportunity in January is going to be pretty unique, where like now we're going to be able to tell our sides of the story at the same time to an appropriate audience, right? Like an audience who gets it, an audience of correctional officers and just folks from that world. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So who knows? That might lead to other opportunities, or that just might be a one and done. But you know, on the on the speaking side of things, I look at trying to you know pursue that avenue if it makes sense, right? Like speaking opportunities kind of come and go, but I don't actively seek them out as much as I used to, being that it's it's going to be coming on close to I don't even know what next year is. Next year will be what 8 years. So 8 years of telling the same story, from different angles. You can only tell it so many times until you get to the point where you're like, okay, does this story really resonate anymore? Like, does this actually make sense for the audience that I might be reaching? And if an opportunity comes up and it makes sense, for sure I look after it, but I don't actively pursue them as frequently as I used to. It's just kind of one of those things where, as time goes on and as life goes on, it's just like, does this story really resonate anymore? Does it make sense? Does it?
Oh, dude. Well, I'm gonna tell you, you maybe you get desensitized to it, but I think that I don't think that there's a way someone could hear it for the first time and be like, "Holy shit!"
Mhm,
Like I
mhm.
think that it just is one of those stories where, yeah, it just doesn't. It's one of those things that people think only happens in movies.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
legitimately like as you told me the first time. I thinking back to it, it's like, dude, this sounds like a movie plot. Like you couldn't have written this because I would have been like, that's fucking crazy. There's no way that happened. But then
yeah,
it's like reality is a little stranger than fiction sometimes. Like
yeah.
it is
I
how
was,
there's a reason that there's books and movies about shit like that because it
yeah,
actually happens.
yeah, it actually happened. I was floating the idea around of like maybe, and I think it came from our first conversation where we didn't get into the whole depth of it, but you were like, you should write a book about this, and
100%, I'd read your
I
book.
kind of chuckled at the idea, like, yeah, I'll write a book about this, but enough time has gone past since that conversation, and whether it's a goal for the next year or maybe a goal for the year after, but like I always thought, how hard could it be to write a book or just to put all that down in a narrative form and see,
Oh, dude, even if it was a podcast, I'd listen to that podcast. If you just
yeah, or
broke
just,
down like a minute, like
yep,
for an hour, you're like, this
hmm
is what was going through my head. Because there's a million and one ways to approach it. Of like, this is what's going on in my head. This is what's going on in reality. This is
yep,
what I thought of this. This is how I process it now. This is how I
yep,
was processing it. Dude, there's like hours and hours and hours. That's like, it could be a book, it could
hmm
be a podcast, but
yep,
like, dude, you should. I don't think that that's a story that loses its touch, dude. I think that
yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, oh shit, humans are capable of dark stuff, dude, and they're also capable of overcoming it.
hmm Yeah, and call it either being desensitized, or I think a lot of it has to do with like imposter syndrome. I think when I get to share that story and I see some of the reaction that people get, and they kind of start asking questions, or they delve into like the mindset or kind of things that kind of go like, I get this sense of like people look at me and they go like, that's amazing, or that's incredible, or like that's so crazy, and I kind of go like, yeah, I guess so, like I was at the time, but it's I don't like getting that kind of attention, even though that story, it just comes with the territory, right?
Hmm.
People will have reactions to it, or they'll hear aspects of it and they'll just be like, oh my god, like you're amazing, and I kind of go, well, I don't really think that, but I guess you could I guess by looking at that through maybe through your eyes, right? This is what I was experiencing, but maybe it's different how people interpret it, I guess. So yeah, that's
Hmm.
just that's just me, and I kind of get a little gun shy when I start getting into that conversation because people kind of go, "Oh my god, like tell me more," and I kind of go, maybe I'll just skirt that subject and kind of dance around it. But for the right audience or for the right reasons, I'll get into like the dark nitty gritty and stuff that came down to like what am I going to do to survive? I think I know what I'm going to do. Do I have to do that kind of thing? So yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
think
dude.
like a book or getting those thoughts out in that sort of platform would make sense, right?
Oh, 100%. Regardless of how you do it, man. Like I said, if you wrote a book, I'd buy it. I'd read that shit, dude. So
Yeah.
that's is there like and this kind of sounds weird when I'm thinking about it, but is there, like in other career paths, there's like seasons that, maybe work changes a little bit, or maybe it's more intense or less intense. Is it more like regarding like current events or current news, like things that go on in the world? Or is there like times where things get more tense or less tense? Like, is there different seasons for being a correctional officer that are more difficult or more stressful than others? Is it like maybe politics or current events plays a role? Do they even watch the news? I'm so ignorant to it, dude.
Well, I can only speak of my experience and my little short tenure in our little small jail here, but there would be times where like if there were certain events happening locally, like do they read the news or do they watch the news? Like in the ranges that I worked at the time, there was a TV there that had channels, and they could watch certain channels that had access to like CBC News or local news. So if there was something happening in the community that was relevant in the institution, it might raise a little bit more tension, or it might. I'm trying to think of an example here, but of course I can't come up with one. But I do know that there was a time where, in my short experience with female inmates,
Hmm.
where someone told me as a joke, and then I experienced it with real time. But something about when females were all kind of synced up, if that makes sense, where they all
Hmm.
kind of follow the same cycle, they could almost predict on a calendar which weekends or which stretch of days might be a little more, people would be on edge. And at first I thought like that doesn't make sense. That's just
Oh, dude, that affects the
well,
like. There's like betting markets on the WNBA for that exact thing. I'm not even joking, dude. If
yep,
some girl tweets like, "Oh, so and so is on the rag," then it's like, dude, they're gonna bet against that player, that
yeah,
team. Some people are like fine and they can perform under it, but obviously other people
yeah.
like it affects everyone differently. Newsflash, but
So so in that regard, with the female inmates, I remember like that was something where I was kind of like, whoa, something's up, and looking at a calendar, going, okay, that makes sense because you know a lot of the more seasoned female officers would explain it to me in bigger detail, right? Like here's the cycle and here's the calendar, and I guarantee you on this day some shit's going to go down.
holy shit, that's
And sure as shit,
crazy.
they could predict it, and things would happen. And I was like, the cycle is real; it happens, right? Or a lot of times,
The COs are using like the fucking moon. They're like the lunar cycle is going at Mercury's in retrograde. These bitches are going nuts.
yeah, yeah. So that was one example where I was like, you could predict it, right?
That's hilarious.
Any other time, I mean, sports,
Dude, that's
same thing. Like
insane.
sports, I remember if it was like the playoffs, if there was a certain team playing, or if there was like a game on, and sometimes if the game was running late, and depending on who was in charge or who the sergeant was, like we would allow them to watch the male inmates. We would allow them to watch a playoff game, maybe a little longer, right? Because it was game seven or something. Or I remember there was one time where we actually allowed, I think it was a bad idea to begin with, and it didn't last long, but we actually allowed some of the male inmates to watch like I think when MMA was starting to really blow up, we would like let them watch it in the ranges, and I was always like, "Is this really a good idea to like
Hmm.
allow inmates to watch like professional
And was
fighters
it?
throwing down?" It wasn't. No, that didn't
No,
last.
not a good idea, eh?
It was one of those things where the argument was like, "Well, we can watch sports and we can watch hockey and people fight in hockey," and I was kind of like, "All right, I get it, makes sense, but it's not my call." But like,
Yeah. I mean, I love watching fights. I'm gonna watch some fights tonight probably, so I love it. But
yeah,
yeah, I guess if you're a highly violent person and you're in a room with a bunch of other highly violent people and then you're watching that, I can see
watching
how
that,
that.
yeah, it just kind of creates an environment. So But
I was gonna joke and say, do they have riots? Because in Vancouver here, we like to fight like and riot and burn our city down when there's playoff hockey here. So do they do that in jail?
well, I
You
think
remember
for
those riots? I don't know if I'm making a reference that maybe you guys don't care about it as much, but
oh no, I remember a time in Vancouver things went down. I think I can't remember the series, but they lost Game 7 in
Boston
Boston. Yeah, and some serious shit went down. I remember
back
being
in
like,
2015 or something like that.
yeah, but I do remember a time where there was like a little, like a small sort of like fight club happening within the ranges where they would take rolls of toilet paper and put them on their fists, and they would like
Oh my
box each other.
goodness, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, so I always
That
thought,
honestly, did you
hey,
want to turn a blind eye to it? I would be inclined to just be like, yo, let the boys be boys, I guess.
it was one
But
of those things where when we knew it was going on, we would start to limit the amount of toilet paper they would get, and you can't deny them toilet paper, so they would
right.
just certain ranges they would just wait. Like instead of me putting like 4 rolls in for a range of 20 guys, I might put like one roll in, and they would just wait till they got 4 rolls, enough for 2 people to throw down, and it would still happen. So they would find ways around it, but
And how would they wipe after? I'm sure they weren't concerned about that, but that's hilarious, dude.
I
That
don't
is
know.
so funny how, dude, I guess, well, they don't have pillowcases, right?
No,
Mm,
it's
tough.
just the world inside of an institution, be it provincial, be it, I can't even imagine what it's like in a federal institution, but it's a whole different world. Like literally,
Turns
the
out people are crafty, hey?
people will find a way. Like they'll figure it out.
Yeah,
And
I get again, I've got a really funny algorithm, but I watched a video on Instagram this week of a guy who's in what do they call it? Solitary or whatever, like 23 hours a day he's in a box
yeah,
and all he does is train. He just punches his wall, does like sit-ups against his toilet and shit. And I'm like,
yeah,
yo, that is the craziest life ever. You have to, I don't know what goes on in a human being's brain
yeah.
for that
Even
to
just
happen, but
yeah, just the mental side of it. We would have in my short time we would have individuals who call it solitary. It was called yeah, it was called. It wasn't called solitary confinement. It was called something else. I can't remember. I'm losing the memory now. But the goal was to never keep them there long term. It was to keep them there for a short time and then bring them back into the population. But the longer I think people are in isolation like that, they just don't have the skills or they don't have the
oh,
mental
how could you,
back
dude?
anymore, right? So we would have. I remember there'd be a handful of guys that you'd literally walk them back to the ranges, and as soon as they go into the doorway, they just stand there, and you're like, well, this is not going to work because clearly they don't know how to interact with people anymore because they've been alone so long, right?
Yeah.
So for folks who are like, that's their life, 20 plus hours a day for 20 plus years, like I don't know how they find call it resiliency, call it the fortitude, whatever. Like their minds must just be like forged in steel or something. I don't know. I probably couldn't. I couldn't hack that. So
Yeah, it is something crazy, dude. When it comes to my actual views on those types of things, I do think that jail is one of those things where it seems like kind of too cruel for me, but
mm,
it does seem like torture to me, and there just seems to be this kind of like I hate the idea that you can just kind of take years away from somebody's life. That seems really like kind of like the weirdest thing to me. But also, I kind of support the idea of a death sentence. So there's a weird contradiction there.
yeah,
So it's always something that you always think about. Is everybody rehabable? And is that how you'd rehab them? And there's a lot of debates around that, but it is something when you hear about those types of things where it's like, obviously, there's people that I don't think that are compatible for society, so we got to deal with them. And I
mm,
guess that's how we've defined that's the way that we're going to deal with them. But when you hear somebody like that's in a box for 23 hours a day, you're
yeah,
like, this something about this is like sick, and I'm not sure which side of it. Like,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I kind of have a skewed view of it as well, given where my path has gone and what I've seen. Like I agree with you too. I'm sure there are people that are just not meant to do any good in the world, and for whatever reason, they've just chosen a path of like violence and aggression and just death and murder and evil and all that kind of stuff. And we have to deal with them, for lack of
Yeah,
better.
100%, dude.
but I like to think that there's hope for anybody in some way, shape, or form, and maybe that hope for certain people in those extreme cases are like, this is as good as it's going to get for you because you continue to choose, and not going on a tangent, but I like to believe that people have the choice to do what they want to do and choose what they want to do. That I don't think people are just, inherently evil 100%. I think
Oh
that people
yeah.
continue to choose what they're doing for a reason, and if we can better understand those reasons and why they're making those choices, we can sort of start to call it rehabilitation. And for those extreme people that are in those small percentages, if that means that their life ends up being solitary confinement for 20 plus hours a day, well, that's as good as it's going to get for them, right? Unless they're willing to make the active choices to change. But I don't know. I don't think there's a right answer for it or a permanent solution or a one size fits all answer. I like to think there's a little bit of faith in humanity that we're all just good people at the end of the day, deep down inside of us, and maybe we just, weren't cared enough as a kid, or maybe we didn't get a hug from our parents, or whatever. Like you can always break it down to
Maybe
something in life
maybe
that
too
happened.
many hugs that were a little too
Maybe too many
close.
hugs, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It can be a rabbit hole of ideas and topics and conversations, and yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is something that I think about that often, dude. Especially like I said, I was just talking with somebody earlier about this as well. How like every 2 years, I seem to look at the views that I had 2 years prior, and I go, "What an idiot, dude! What I can't believe I thought that." But
Yeah.
I definitely like it. It is. Yeah, it's a tough one, man. Because like I said, there's something weird that feels a little sick about like taking years away from another man's life. But there is, like you said, like I said, like you said, like it's undeniable. There is people that are just incompatible. Like, especially like I don't have kids right now, but like I know 100% that if I did, there would be a lot of things that I see in the streets of Richmond, the city that I live in, where I
Yep.
would be like, yeah, that's not cool with me on the same block as like this, like fucking human being that I've made.
Yep.
It's not cool. It's
Mhm.
literally, and I'm saying that as a euphemism, where it's like, no, I'll do some pretty like what people would call extreme to avoid that. Like there's just yeah, there's weird people out there, and
Mhm.
yeah, it is a tough one, dude. It is the ultimate like and dude, again, it's like absolutely biblical of like the ultimate grace of like understanding that is the world we live in. And you're actively choosing to bring other people into this world. And
Mhm.
so it's yeah, it's a tough one, man. Hey, this is a random question. Did
Mhm.
the whole like defund the police movement impact your job at all? Was there like any like when they were having like all those like BLM riots and like defund the police riots and
Mhm.
like Seattle got taken over and like parts of Vancouver got taken over, like, well, not taken over, but there was definitely like did that shit impact your job at all? Was there like ever anything?
I don't think so because I was only in corrections from like 20. I'm trying to think when did those riots actually happen. Like
I think like
2018, 2018.
2019, yeah,
Yeah.
2018-ish.
So I was out of corrections by the end of 2019.
Hmm.
So I don't know if that had any sort of impact in the institutions. I would think that it might have had a bigger impact on like the
American.
officers in the community, like the police officers.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if anything happened in the corrections world. I do know from just firsthand uh, what's the word,
Like
testimony or
anecdotal.
yeah, yeah. Like I know the pandemic would just wreaked havoc on everybody, but in corrections specifically, it just like flipped the whole system upside down because they just had
Did
to.
they actually let prisoners out, or was that something?
Yeah,
Holy shit!
yeah, they had to. Like, well, I shouldn't say they had to. They 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 were
Forced to.
forced to look at every possible opportunity to release, inmates to the general public. Just being that for health and safety reasons, it was
Man,
it was less chance of contracting the virus at the time, which no one really knew the answer at the time. So I
which
do know.
seems hilarious to me because you're already like, hey, literally locking these people up in cages, but we don't want them to get sick because that's
Yeah,
a bridge too far.
yeah, yeah. So I remember that was, I remember looking at that at the time and being like, holy crap, I'm sure glad I'm not in corrections now because that job sounds terrible based on what the world is looking like at that point. So,
That's
yeah.
crazy, dude. I never knew if that was like actual thing or because even where I live here, I think we talked about this last time. I'm sure there's like little jails that I don't know about, but the closest prison is like 50-minute drive, an hour's drive.
Hmm.
Like you don't really think about it that often. Even if they were like to quote unquote, like I'm sure there's escapes all the time or like people that get let out in the community or whatever. And you
Yeah.
just don't really think about it because it's like they wouldn't drive here. This is like right where the airport is. There's a lot more police
Okay.
around. So it's like they'd probably stay out in the valley where the jail is or where
Hmm.
the prison is.
Yeah.
You don't think about those things. So
I think
when,
I think society as a whole and just the system and ideology of corrections in general is just meant to be like out of sight, out of mind, right?
yeah.
The general public, they don't want to know about the murderers and the rapists and the drug dealers. They just want to know that they're away from us and they're safe from the public and they're not going to come get me. And as they should, right? Like it's you
At
don't
least they're not going to come get you unless you're in a gang. That's at least how it
exactly.
feels most of the time in Vancouver because we do have our gang activity, like
Yeah,
believe you me,
yeah.
but it's like as long as you're not in another gang, you don't really have to worry about violence on the streets
Hmm.
as of right now. You know,
Yep.
there might be the odd bar fight or road rage, but
Yeah.
like in terms of like drive-by shootings, doesn't really happen. There's like
Hmm.
definitely shootings here and there, but they're usually at night and they're gang related.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm
I
not
mean,
out at night, so it
yeah.
doesn't really impact my life.
The activities that happen like behind the scenes, behind the doors in the underworld, and people that just aren't aware of it, like it can be some pretty scary stuff. And the phrase I always come back to when it comes to talking about that kind of stuff is like, you know, if would you really want to know what's happening out there, or would you rather just not know? And
Yeah,
depending on
it's
the
one of
day of
those
the week,
Matrix
one of those,
things.
yeah, it's like ignorance is bliss. Like, do you really want to know, or you'd rather just be blissfully ignorant and
And
you'd be
most of the
surprised
gang
on.
activity in Vancouver is like economic gangsters. Like they're more like stealing money from each other or like running like fucking money laundering schemes and half of it like dude, we've had local politicians that are like, "Oh, this guy's involved in this money laundering thing with this gang or whatever." And it's like that's the kind of like gangster activity and I guess drug dealers, but
Mhm.
it's not like what I've seen in other areas, especially in North America. It's definitely an interesting city that way.
Yeah. That guy out of Thunder Bay, the former Olympic snowboarder, like he's in the news a lot, and I think that's going to be an interesting story how that plays out.
Wait, what happened? What I gotta look this up, man.
So there's a guy, and I'm going to probably butcher this now, but there's a gentleman who used to be like an Olympic snowboarder, or at least competed in the Olympics. I want to say in Vancouver, like in 2010.
Huh.
I think he's originally out of from Thunder Bay, but he's like on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list. He's like this big, apparently drug lord.
FBI?
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but I can see his face.
Ryan Wedding?
Yeah, he's been in the news a lot. I don't want to say he's got connections to Vancouver, but he definitely was a snowboarder. He
Oh,
definitely
dude,
competed.
well, definitely in Vancouver, but there is a lot of weird gang stuff that goes on through this
Mhm.
city for sure. Because
So
they've got all the ports along the west coast here.
yeah,
So a
so
lot of
he's someone that I've just kind of been like reading the news and maybe not going down the rabbit hole, but just trying to figure out like, man, what's this guy's story and how was he
Oh
where
yeah,
he is
currently a
now?
top 10 fugitive. He's in the
Mhm.
top 10, dude. That is
Mhm.
not dude went from top 10 maybe in snowboarding to this is like the worst top 10 you could be a part of. That
Yeah, so
sucks.
that's a pretty crazy path. So who knows if he'll turn up or if.
Oh, he looks rough, dude.
Mhm. Yeah, like I said, that there was a Vancouver connection. Maybe it was just sport related, or maybe he's got like alleged ties to gang activity, or who knows what. But I just remember being like, "There's that snowboarder with a Vancouver connection," and I can't remember what it was. But
Oh, that's weird. I'm
mhm.
trying to find it. That's crazy. He got arrested in the US.
Yeah, and
Wow.
I'm apparently living in Mexico somewhere, or who knows. But yeah, I see his story on my algorithm once in a while now.
That's crazy, dude. Wow. I
Yeah.
wonder if
So
that was I don't know, my conspiracy theorist brain just goes off left, right, and center there, but that's crazy, dude.
yeah,
That is absolutely crazy. But I think that yeah, I mean, yeah, again, my conspiracy theorist brain. I'm just always thinking about that kind of stuff, dude. But that is crazy, man. Imagine that, man.
yeah. Different world when people choose the path they choose. But you know,
It is one of those things where, and now that I think about it, how much and that's a lot of the I was saying that to Teddy about one of the restaurants we were at recently. I was like joking with her. I'm like, this is probably owned by like I was talking about a gang, but it's a notorious biker gang that most people in North America would understand. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably owned by them. Like they own like probably like a huge portion of the Vancouver restaurants. Like that is how they rinse their money is. And she's like, I don't care. I like the food they have. I'm like, hey, I'm in the same boat,
that's
honestly.
true. Yeah.
Honestly, at the end of the day, I am kind of free market that way. And if they own a restaurant that I like,
Yep.
I'll probably end up going there.
Yeah, they'll take my money as long as they have good food and give you a reason to keep going back. You know.
Yeah. And you almost feel like, hey, at least they're honest about being criminals. You know?
Well, there's certain types of criminal activity that people might not get as worked up about. Like, you know, one of the jokes I always say with my wife now is like, whenever we stress about money or whenever we stress about things, I'm like, man, we could just like sell drugs on us as a side quest to make some serious money, and we'd be fine with it. I'd be fine
Yeah.
with it. You'd be fine with
Isn't
it.
isn't it crazy that we pay taxes, dude? So many people just do things where you don't have to pay taxes and that's just how they live. Isn't
Yeah,
that crazy? We just decide to pay taxes.
it's one of those things where you go, why are we paying taxes? Because money that goes in taxes is supposed to be allocated for things, like what's the utilities and all that jazz. When the money's not being spent, that's an argument to be had. Like, why am I even paying for this?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not.
yeah. Well, it's just like at the end of the day when I'm doing like, because again, I'm kind of self-employed, so like I do. There's things where like I have to declare income, I have to do this, and you're basically incriminating yourself voluntarily at some point because it's kind of like, yeah, dude, when you're sitting there and you're doing groceries and you're doing your bills, you're like, fuck, man, I really wish that like I was like my buddy that I had back in the day who never he just made cash. Why would
Yeah,
he
it's
have to
pretty
fuck?
bad.
He never fucking paid taxes, man. Like I'd love to save that money.
If there's no paper trail, it's harder to track, right? So that's why
Yeah.
cash is king.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, it is a crazy world. I don't know. I'll let you. I was thinking we'd probably wrap things up pretty soon here. I could let you go. But is there
Sure.
anything else you wanted to chat about? Anything that you wanted to talk about that you got coming up, or anything you
Not
want to
really. I mean,
promote?
like I said, looking at opportunities and goals towards 2026, and as I've done in the last few years, like I kind of look at the year as a whole and kind of go, I did this and I achieved this and I struggled with this and I tried to be better at this, and going into the next year, there's nothing groundbreaking or earth shattering that I look to do to change things up. It's just being consistent, and whether that's in my personal life or fitness life or professional life, or I just want to kind of keep doing what I'm doing and be better at the things I want to do, and really prioritize where my time and energy is being spent at. And I think as someone who's like, I look at my age now and I'm kind of going like, man, 50's like, I can see it right over there. Like it's coming up, God willing, right? So I think, as not to be too introspective, but as you get older, you start to realize like where your priorities are best spent, and time and energy. So I think going into the new year now, I'm going to be better at going, here's where all my time and energy is going, and here's where I actually want it to go. Like I need to part ways with things that just don't serve me anymore, or don't, give me that sense of fulfillment, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, the older you get, the more you realize time is a commodity, and certain people and places, they earn your time more than others, right? They deserve your time more than others. So yeah, I hope that's
Yeah.
not too philosophical, if you will.
Oh no, 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 not at all, dude. I think that literally is like I said, I try and stay consistent with just kind of checking in with myself where I'm at, where I want to be, and kind of how to bridge that gap. But that is constantly the battle that I find myself like, because I'm one of those guys where like in a perfect world, I'd have like a 4 hour morning routine, dude. I would wake up, I would do some stretching, I'd do some reading, I'd do a workout, I'd do some meditating, have a good breakfast,
Mm.
do this, like do some affirmations, do a phone call to my grandma. I would do like, there would be like a million and one things that I could do. But it's like I find myself constantly having that battle of like, okay, I got to find, okay, maybe it's just 15 minutes of reading, or maybe it's just reading every other day. Maybe it's just exercising. That's why I had to break it down into like, dude, if I can just focus on doing 3 runs a week, because I want to run. Well, I want to do jujitsu, but I want to do yoga, but I want to do, it's constantly like choosing what is the highest priority for right now. And it's always going to change.
Yep.
So,
Such is,
dude,
such is life.
that's super relevant to my life right now, man. Well, again, man, thank you so much for your time. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. This is by the time this is out, it'll be after Christmas and just before New Year. So, thanks for
Right.
joining me on the last episode of the year, man.
Appreciate you, Mark. Thanks for having me. And same thing. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that good stuff, and all the best in 2026.
Likewise, man. I'm excited to see where it takes us. Much love and peace out, brother.
You as well. Take care, man.
Bye.